Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
Welcome, everybody, to ICONOCLASM. We are on to episode number 6, They Stole Our Divinity. Going to talk a lot about that, and we're going to mostly take your calls, because I didn't get to all of them last week. So the plan is to probably do about a half hour, and then we'll move over there. Take your calls. So let me just show you real quick, just to remind you, please, if you'd be so kind, why don't you sign up for the summit? Coming up, it's just 12 days away. Look at that. So you can go to TEMS, TEMMS.live. Again, that's TEMMS.live. I believe it's the first link in the description. Let's just go on down there and click that link, and then you can come here. You can check out how much time's left. You can check out the speaker lineup. You can check out the schedule, all that fun stuff. You can check out who's going to be there. And then if you want to purchase, to go up here to buy a ticket, and it will take you to the site. And from here, everything's pretty self-explanatory. You'll get a link after this. It'll take you to trueearther.com, where you'll create an account and be ready to go. So that's basically all I needed to do as far as, and you should buy a hat too. Let me show you so you can get cool like me. You want one of these Fake X, or it's actually a Nike hat. I mean a NASA hat with Fake X on the back. There you go. Psh. NASA, going effing nowhere. Sharp hat, fits nice. Anything where I guess everyone said between like a 7 and 8.25. So that's pretty nice. Not a bad. Let's get on with this. Okay, let me show you this. If you want to jump into the crowd, you can. If you want to jump on the show, you can go to tinyurl.com/cornerism. Let me get that on the screen for you. There you go. If you want to support the show, you can do that by going to $Jeranism on Cash App. You can use buymeacoffee.com/Jeranism, and you'll get your little message read on the show. Or you can go to patreon.com/Jeranism if you're interested in crypto stuff. That is the crypto group that we have. Okay. And become a channel member too, please. If you want to get all the repeats or the replays, just go down on YouTube below the show and click join. But ultimately, what you really should do is you need to be a member at Rokfin. If you're not, you should be. Let me just put it that way. You get everybody there. That includes, Owen Benjamin, Crow 777, Karen B, Globebusters, Austin Whitsitt, Conspiracy Castle. I could go on and on with all the channels that are there. And you get that all for $15 a month, everything included. So that is a steal of a deal, and I suggest you do so. But if you don't want to, hey, I understand. Some people are upset about yesterday's show. I told Christians not to message me. They still did anyway. So yesterday I kind of went off a little bit on the priests and the Orthodox and the Catholics and all that fun stuff. So if you want to find all my links, the best place to go to is sleekbio.com. I'm sorry, sleek.bio/Jeranism. You can definitely do that if you want. And I believe that is all I needed to do. Yeah. All right. Let me see if there's anybody waiting. No. All right. So let me explain to you my theory here. And just hear me out. Again, what you're doing is I'm not claiming to be right. I'm claiming to be really right. No, I'm just kidding. I'm at least right as far as I go. But I'm not claiming that you have to believe me. This is not a religion for you to join. This is not anything like that. Because let me explain why not. So I think, put yourself in this land, and we'll say hi to people in the chat here in a second, but put yourself with me where I'm at here. Imagine that we are all divine. Okay? Imagine that we are all the creator in small form. Of course, if somebody tells you we'll create a universe, well, we're not saying we are the ultimate creator, we are a little piece. But we do have creative abilities. The problem is that we were raised in a way to steal that from us. They stole our divinity. So how would you steal people's divinity, and how would you make sure that they didn't know that they themselves were capable of manifesting, creating, basically making the life that they wanted here? Well, what you would do is you would convince them that there's a big daddy God in the sky, right? And the big daddy God in the sky, he really wants you to be a good guy, and he wants you to be nice, he wants you to be kind. But ultimately what you're doing is you're just allowing the evil people in the world to do the evil that they want to do. So it's a terrible thing for us, because what we're doing is we're wasting our life here. We're wasting our life here worrying about the Bible and what's divine and what's not, and why is this not perfect, and what's the translation, and just think of all the things that could be done simply by the elite who want you to think that way, to make it very questionable, to make it all over the place. And there's lots of different, avenues. And is this guy a real writer, or did he not? Did Josephus really write, or is it a forgery? Who was the actual author of these books? So I think that, and here's one way we can know that, or not know that, but at least it gives us an idea. So again, the oldest manuscript that we can, even if we wanted to, and I mean full manuscript of the New Testament, is like 1,000 years old, if you want to give them that much. Okay, but I'll say, let's give them that. So what that means is, and then the oldest piece, so I'm talking a little fragment of a book, would have been from about 180 AD. Okay, so first off, that's a little bit strange that Jesus dies when he's 33 or in 33 AD, and we don't have any writings until the year 180. Okay, that's 150 years. So if you really think about that, that's seems fishy. Seems like somebody. Now let me explain something else too, because I'm somebody who thinks that a lot of the New Testament was written recently, and I think that it's so easy to backdate something. Here's what you do. Let's say you write the complete Bible the way you want it today. Okay, so now the Bible's written today. Me and you write it. We have it perfect. Okay, great. Now we want to make it look old. So make a little fragment of a papyrus, say this line from our Bible. Make a page on vellum, say this page from the Bible, and make another page of vellum that's kind of ripped. Do this one, make a manuscript for this. And then what you do is you just backdate them, have people find them in a cave or something. Oh, look what I found. There's a back, And then what you've done is you've created a line of custody, or a chain of custody, that makes it look like the book is old. It's that easy to fake it out. It is that easy. So here's what I want from Christians too, and I don't know if I'll ever get it, because I believe that we can have different opinions and we can have different beliefs. That's fine. What I want from them is them to understand my position, because I have the correct position over them, 100%. Here's why. You are believing the words of man, which is a known thing. Not one of you would claim the Bible. If you want to call into the show and tell me you think the Bible's perfect, that'd be funny, but go ahead. So we all know the Bible isn't perfect. And that would be the only excuse I would give somebody for trusting a book that said it was divine without God telling us, is if the book was perfect. And I mean, no contradictions, it hasn't changed. It's okay. Well, have a hard time saying that book shouldn't be followed in some way. But if it's not perfect, and it's been changed, and it's been altered, and it's been mistranslated, and we don't even know. Because again, if the oldest manuscript we have of the New Testament is 1,000 years, then that means that there's 1,000 years before that they could do anything they wanted. Type up anything they want, change it however they want, tell the scribes to write whatever they want. They can literally do anything. So I'm in the right position because I am choosing to follow evidence, number one, and the truth of reality around us. And how could the Creator want anything more from me? The Creator could not want you to want or to believe in things that you've never seen, right? So you can't have, the Creator wouldn't want you to believe in man walking on water just because a book said so, unless you had chain of custody, unless you had some way to know that book stayed true for all times, which we don't know. So again, when you look at the whole plate of things, you're like, wait a second. So everything that we know about religion, about the fallen angels, about they came down and they had sex with women, and then there was these giants, and all that stuff is from the minds of man. None of it is from the mind of God, because there's nothing of that you would come up to on your own. You have learned that from men. So what better way to strip you of your divinity than to give you all these fantastical stories and tell you about Satan, and Satan runs the world. He's the God of this world. there's a God of the other, but then Satan's the God of this world, right? So once you realize that, then you realize that there's no way that the Creator would ever demand of you in any way that you believe in things that men have told you through story. So the story of Jesus dying, raising on the cross, these things, there's no proof of that. And so if you think that the entire point of our reality here is to come here, be told stories by men and believe them, then I just want you to admit that my position, it makes sense to you. The problem that I have is Christians act like I have the crazy thought. I have the crazy belief. No, you have the crazy belief, not me. I don't have the crazy belief. I'm looking at reality as it was handed to me, as the Creator put it in front of me. And I'm saying, I've never seen any man walk on water, and I've never seen any man rise from the dead. Seems silly to me. And I've never seen many things that are in the Bible. So to believe, and there's even stories in the Bible about Thomas doubting Jesus and doubting Thomas, puts his finger. So even the men that were there with him, they didn't believe it. So I'm supposed to believe it 2,000 years later? I doubt it. I really doubt it. So what they've done is they've done a really crafty job at, and here's what I ultimately think as far as people saying, well, what are you saying that the Old Testament is? No, I think the Old Testament is the Hebrew Jew God of YHWH. Okay, I believe that. That's their idea of God. There's not a real God doing all those things, but let's just say that's why the Old Testament isn't like a part of the deception, other than this is what the Hebrews used to kind of keep their people in check, to make sure that they tried to follow the rules or whatever. And then I think at some point, whether Jesus or not came, I don't know, but it wouldn't be far-fetched for them to say, okay, well, let's have these people worship another God so that they're not worshiping our God. And even if they do, if they do decide, that's why they made Jesus and say, oh, you got to pray through him, you got to work. Because again, anytime you're praying externally, I think that you're missing the point, right? You're missing the point. If you're praying to something, someone, somewhere, there's no such thing. There is no one over there or over there. There is no God over there. There is no God over there. And that just makes all the sense to me in the world, that we are from the mind of God. We are acting out the existence of God. And that's all that this is. And it's a test in a way, yes. And I don't know what that test might be. I guess we will find out when we expire. I tend to think that it's not like some people think. Some people think that it's, oh, everything's good. Everything, even bad is good. You can do anything you want here. I don't believe that. I think that you will be judged, although I think we judge ourselves. Again, I know people aren't really ready for that, but it makes more sense to me than the fact of there being some God. I don't even know what is he, a man? So there's some old man sitting on a throne who's going to then recount the moments of my life. And Jared, when you were 16, you masturbated on that couch in your bedroom. Oh, you're right, I did. And you had a lot of premarital sex, I see here. Okay, yeah. That's never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. What is going to happen is that you're going to face yourself, and you are the Creator. You are God. So you know everything that you've done. You don't need to explain what you've done or try and rationalize or what I was really thinking. You already know everything. So the goal here is to clear your conscience. The goal here is to make sure that you feel like you've done right. And it's not as easy as, I believe in Jesus. Haha, done. He died for my sins. I'm out. Peace. No, that would be stupid. So it is about actually clearing. I mean, if you've raped somebody and you've killed somebody, let's say, you gotten away with it, whatever, then you better spend the rest of your life helping people that have been in that situation, or maybe trying to save a life or two or three, so that you can feel when you die that you passed whatever test we're supposed to be doing here. That's my thought there. So when you look at the whole plate of things, there's no way that we could have any chain of custody between Jesus and now. It's 2,000 years. It's no way to even prove that he walked the earth. You can say, oh, but there's all this evidence. Look at none of that evidence is proof in any way. It's 2,000 years ago. And if you can't realize that men distort, they lie, they cheat, they befuddle, they confuse, they try and hold you down with their powers. Because here's the thing. If everybody knew the truth, then nobody could enslave anybody. Easy. What do you mean? You're not in charge of me. I'm as divine as you are. Take a hike, Joe Biden. Go die already. There's no way anybody can control you unless they've confused you and taught you that you are not divine. Okay? You're not. And they've even gone as far as to call things satanic. So there's this guy in my chat on Telegram who, no matter what you say, if you say something like, he's like, that's just ego, that's satanic. Okay. I get where you're saying that from, but do you realize that that's what they would want you to think if you are the creator? If you are God, anytime you look into yourself and you're about to do something, they put that doubt in you that that's satanic, right? So everything is satanic. That's satanic, that's satanic. And to even add to that, then the elite actually control the people, like the music stars and these kind of the basketball players, actually get them to do things in honor of Satan. They don't actually believe in him. They actually are doing it so that you do. Because if you believe in Satan, you certainly don't think that you're God. If you're worried about Satan, or you think he's going to confuse you, or he's going to lie to you, or he's going to do, then you certainly are not created. You're not the creator. So they have stolen our divinity, in my opinion. And that's what answers for everything. No matter what you look at in our world, at some point, these guys realized, and I still think they operate that way. They probably manifest things. They probably manifest their money, and the only way that they keep power is through this lie. And it's even bigger than the globe, even bigger than the flat earth, would be this idea that what we're capable of. Now, again, go back and look at, who was it? Charles Fort that said, there's a lot of people who have said that the vaccines that we were all given as children could be to remove any connection that we once had. So we might even be a lot more divine, or we might have that feeling, and it's just forgotten. It's forgotten when you put children into school from the very beginning and you start, I was talking about this last night, right? If you, let's say that there is some shape of the world, or how do I put this? When it comes to the shape of the earth, if you force into children's heads, globe, spinning balls in space, the stars are so far away, the sun is so huge, it becomes almost impossible for us to have anybody think outside that box, because you really are still stuck in that box. And I notice it all the time, right? When I think of God, or I mention God, if I ever, even for a second, picture an old man, then I have clearly fallen for the deception laid for me. That is, I need to erase that from my mind. The idea that God is a male or female. Some people out there are like sure that God's a male, which it just really doesn't make sense. What do you mean he's a male with a penis? God has a penis now? No, God's not a male. So why do we call him Father? Because that's the easiest way to get it across to people, probably. People back in the day would have needed to understand, oh, Father, the God, okay. But ultimately what it is it's just confusing people into thinking that they are, think of what the Christians believe. You're born in sin. You're just a sinner. You're not even close to God. He can't even talk to you if he wanted to. You're so disgusting to him that you have to go through Jesus. What a scam. How does it not ring true to you that that is a scam, not truth? I just don't get how people can so easily keep professing faith into this idea, or the sacrificing of your son to yourself, for yourself. Who is he sacrificing Jesus to? Why does Jesus need to be sacrificed? Why would the Creator ever have restrictions such as, I need to forgive their sins, and therefore I'm going to do this? Well, just forgive the sins. You're the Creator. So that's what I think makes the most sense to me. That's what I feel is going on. And I don't mind. I want to move past where we're at. I want to go past the slamming Christian position or whatever, because what I've realized is it's not for everyone, just like the globe, just like the flat earth, is either people are ready for the truth or they're not. And my job is to mention what I think the truth is and what I'm doing with it, and then leave it at that. If people choose, well, that's satanic, well, then go ahead, go enjoy yourself, go off and believe in the church fathers and believe in passed down traditions and believe in dogma, believe in all that. I have no problem. But understand my position. Do not be like P-Brain, who goes on his, makes videos about me every day, talking about how crazy I am because I don't believe in the same God he does. Why doesn't he just shut up? It's that easy. Shut up. You worry about you. I'll worry about me. And it's that simple. So people always say, well, Jaron, you don't worry, but you worry about the Christians. Yeah, because of what they come at me with. I'll drop it. Drop it completely. We can move on to other things. But the problem is that Christians almost act like they can't even imagine how did I get here? how did you get here, Jared? Where have you gone so wrong? Haven't you looked into this? Haven't you researched this? You haven't researched enough. You're crazy. No, it's because I've researched that I've gotten to the point where how could you trust any of it? And you should at least, I can understand that you put faith in it. I'll understand that. So you have faith. You think that for whatever reason, that the book, even though it's not perfect, it's been handed down correctly and there's no chance it's been changed and might as well just trust in it. I can accept that that's your position. If you in exchange can accept mine, and it should be a no-brainer because my position is the better one. And you should be able to admit that. You should be able to admit, you know what? I am going to take a leap of faith and I'm going to guess that for the 1,000 years that the book didn't change, that Jesus is real because books written 2,000 years ago say that people died for it. And I trust those men who wrote the books and the ones who copied it and the ones who copied that and the ones who copied that. And I'm just going to believe it because I'm afraid I don't want to go to hell and I want to live forever in heaven. Whatever. If that's your position, I can accept it. You need to accept my position that is better, which is why would I believe that? If I cannot keep chain of custody and the creator put me, would the creator ever say, well, Jaron, you should have believed the book? Never. That would be a joke. Why would I believe the book? Well, because it's been around for 2,000 years. Yeah, but it's changed. It's not even the same book that was written originally. Well, yeah, it was mistranslated and then what? So I'm supposed to choose what from the book to believe and what not? How would I know? How would I know it's been changed? How would I know what's true and what's not? There's stories in there about you killing people. I was supposed to believe that? Of course not. Of course not. So you can, it's your choice. This is the great thing about this life. You can choose what to, Oh, yeah, I'm sure I didn't see my mic on. I was like, don't tell me I've been talking to myself this whole time. What if the rapture is people waking up to the truth of our creator and not what was written down by man? Just a thought. I don't know about the rapture. The rapture is not biblical at all. So I'm not sure about that. But don't you want to vote for the lesser of two evils? A classic contradiction scam. They control each side. Only way out is to not play. Exactly. 3B Big Buddy Bob. Totally. And this is what they're great at. And they set it up so that you have to choose one or the other. And it's a brilliant scam. And even if you believe in Satan and you start worshiping Satan, it's nothing to them. Nothing. You're not getting anything out of it. There's no reward for worshiping a non-existent deity or a non-existent evil deity. So, Joe Mama, we want me to go back to the beginning and start over? Joe Mama's here, guys. We can start now. So that's what it basically comes down to. Is all I expect from people is respect for the position. Is for people to say, "Oh, okay, I see why you believe that. It makes sense to me now. Thanks," and that's it. But I don't get that. I get verse after verse after verse. Well, how is a verse going to change anything? There is no verse in the Bible that's going to change anything of my beliefs. None. It's just not going to happen. There's too much wrong. It's like the globe. It's not as simple as, oh, Jaron, there's 17-hour sun in Ushuaia. There is? Oh, then we live on a globe. No way. Do you know how much that we've found lies, befuddlement, confusion, distortion, make-believe, theoretics? There's so much wrong with it that it's going to take a mountain of evidence to get me to go and believe that I'm on a spinning ball in space. Okay? Same thing is true at this point with the book. That there's so much wrong with the book. You can take any chapter and just randomly read, and you'll find areas that you don't agree with or that don't make sense or that seem like they're just ancient writers. Now, I get it. People might say, but you read a book last night where the guy that believed in it. Yeah, I get it that the shape of the earth is much better described in the Bible than anywhere else. And I believe that's because it's one of the oldest books, right? So if you notice, though, there's nothing in the New Testament about that stuff, right? The New Testament has no cosmology, has no science. The New Testament doesn't have any science. This New Testament is very much like a parable, like a story. And when you start looking into it, you realize there's so many mistakes, or not mistakes, but so many clues of what went on. Like Paul, who wrote all about Jesus, right? He wrote all the epistles. He never mentions any of the miracles that Jesus did, right? Never. So the reason why is because the miracles were added after the fact. The Gospels were written after Paul's epistles. So if you look at Paul's epistles, they don't talk about Jesus like the Gospel did. The Gospels come along and they try and explain Jesus in a way, oh, he was a miracle worker, he was born of a virgin. Paul never mentions he was born of a virgin. Why not? Because Paul didn't know that. That was decided after Paul. So once you start to see the order of the books written, how they were written, why they were written, what about they were written, you start to see the play there. That this was nothing more than a grab at the citizens to create a religion that mirrored or matched the pagan religions. That's why Jesus was born on December 25th and Saturnalia and all these things, right? So my position is clearly the one that is better. And you might say, well, that's subjective. No, not really. Not really. If you had told two people, here's your options. One, believe men, believe books that they wrote, even though you have no chain of custody, and we know 1,000 years is missing, and they're all copies of copies of copies. Believe that as your salvation, or take the position of, I'm going to base things off evidence. And evidence tells me that there's no way to prove any of this. That one position is better than the other. It's subjective. I mean, how could you say that? At what point would you ever say, no, it's better to put trust in men and their writings about a creator, even though you're like, well, do you know what they say about the creator in there? The creator never changes, but yet he changes. They say that the creator, there's no, make sure you fear the Lord, but there's no love and fear. There's contradiction after contradiction after contradiction. And it becomes almost unbearable for somebody to either just go, you know what? I believe it. I'm just going to believe it. That's it. Or to say, I'm not. And what they hope for is if you ever don't believe it, that you go running to science. Why? Because science is the same. It's just a god for the other side. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. That they've stolen your divinity the other way. Right? So people who just go around and believe everything that science says, they're not creating anything. They're not being divine. They're not being a creator. They've given up their divinity. So everything is a way for you to give up your divinity. When you go to sporting events, it's to expend your divine powers mentally there, basically burn them into the ground, not to do anything that's going to actually physically change the world or change those in charge. And to think that we can fix this world by simply removing the people out of power, well, everything in every rank of politics is corrupt. Everything. So we're never going to fix it like that. You're just not going to do that. So how do we fix it? Well, in my mind, you only can fix it mentally. You only can fix it with the realization of divinity. The more people who do that, the more people who come forward. But I mean, it's a tough order. I realize that just saying that, I'm like, what is there going to be 10 of us? I mean, I realize that it's hard, but once you've freed yourself from the shackles of organized religion, you can see so much clearer. You are yourself. And even better, I don't need to know what the sun is. I don't need to know what the moon is. I don't need to know anything really about the place we live. I just need to know who I am and who you are and how I should treat others. And then go through life answering or working on behalf of the will of God, which the will of God is the right path. It's the one that you feel good about taking. It's the one where you're not hurting other people, the one where you're not forcing your will on others, because that's really what should everything come down to. And when I say this, people will say it's satanic. Yeah, it's satanic for me to say that we should all just worry about never infringing on somebody else's rights. So satanic of me. No, it's not satanic. It's actually the correct way to live. So once we wrap all that together, it becomes plain and simple. I don't mind if people want to be Christian, if they want to believe in that. My mom did. I didn't give her a hard time. She can believe in that all she wants. And I can't even tell you if you are a Christian, maybe you do move on to the next level because you weren't a bad person. And so maybe it's just an easy way to get there. I don't know. For me, I don't like the idea because I see the way that people are. Look at the way Jim Bob's been, Rim Job. And these guys, they are, the way that they act when they think that they're holier than you, the way that they act when they think they have the right religion. It's as if, they call what we do satanic and ego-driven, when really there's no bigger ego than the person who thinks, I have the correct religion, I have the right book, this book is correct, right? And again, people might say, well, Jaron, you're saying I have the right religion. No, I'm not. Not saying it's the right religion. I'm saying it is the better position to take, giving the evidence that we've been given. That's it. So I'm not saying that you need to come follow my religion. No, that would be ridiculous. I don't have a religion. I have a set of beliefs based on how the world presents itself to me, and I'm going to take the best method at at reviewing it, or the best method at considering it all. And that's to take each person, and this is why I want to talk to other people. I want to hear their opinions. I want to listen. And I want to see if I need to craft my belief system around that or change my belief system in some way. And the weirdest thing is when you have all these people standing so firmly on things as if they have a clue. Like a debate over the Trinity is a joke. Let's be honest. What are you debating? Whether there can exist three peoples in one? So you're arguing this book says yes we can, and I feel that we can't. This is what we're going to debate. There's not better things to be talking about. It doesn't matter if you believe in 3 and 1 and somebody doesn't. Oh well, get over it. Who cares? Do you really think that you're going to get up to heaven and God's going to be like, you didn't believe in the 3 and 1? There's 3 of us, dipshit. There's 3 persons in one. Get down to hell. You're out of here. But I thought, no, you have to believe in the 3 of us. You cannot just believe in one of us. It's 3 and 1. It's a three-person package. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. If somebody thinks that their afterlife, it depends on their belief in whether there's 3 beings in one, you've lost your mind. You've lost your mind. And if you're going to stand so firmly and make fun of other people and make videos about other people because you believe in 3 and 1 because a book told you, because men told you, congratulations. Congratulations. You are the least impressive person I've ever seen. It's actually really gay and kind of this whole authority thing. Like, Made by Rimjob has a problem with Owen Benjamin because Owen Benjamin doesn't answer to any authorities. So, and if people are going to fall like, yeah, you're right, Rimjob, we should go follow you because at least you follow the church fathers who wear their dresses and give you the spoonful of the mashed up bread that's Jesus's body. It's just a ludicrous position to take. And I can't believe the amount of people in today's age that still fall for orthodoxy or even Catholicism. What is going on? These are men who are no different than you and I. I worked with them. They act holy on Sunday. Oh, hello, shake my hand. Oh, hello, shake my hand. The second church is done. They're in the rectory. They're watching football, drinking Jack Daniels. These are not impressive men. They are actually kind of goofy. Right? What did you mean? Oh, I gave up my life here on earth in exchange for a life in heaven. Okay. Good luck to you. Has God talked to you? No, I just feel his presence. Yeah, we all do. Just some of us don't choose to become hypocrites and put, black cassocks on with little white collars. But again, these guys are the ones who tell you that you have to go to them to get your sins forgiven. Imagine this. A world where God created a bunch of us. Do you really think God said, and a couple special of you ones, you're the only ones that can talk to me about sins, not these other plebs. You guys, you ask the plebs to talk to you about sins, and then you bring the sins to me. I will forgive the sins, and then you give them penance, and they do that. It's stupid. Hate to tell you, hate to be so blunt. It's dumb. And you can go back in history and see that they started that by taking money. They would take people's money for indulgences. They would allow people indulgences. Like, you're basically like, I'm going to sin this weekend. Okay, $500. Here's $5. Go sin. I think I got my indulgences now. It's insane to me. So let's open up the phone lines. I believe they're open. I didn't hear anybody jump in. We are already more than a half hour in, and nobody's here yet. So the URL's on the screen, tinyurl.com/cornerism. If you've got something to say, if not, that'll be crazy. That'll be unique. It will be different, but I'm sure somebody does have something. We got the clock set up. Let me make sure we've got a 4-minute clock today. 4 minute. Okay, there we go. So if you've got comments, questions, I would love to hear them. If you think I'm dead wrong, I would love to hear why. If you believe that the Bible is perfect and that's the reason that you choose that path, I would like to hear that. I don't think anybody can say that with a straight face and mean it. I think it would be impossible. And so once you can't say that, then at that point you have to admit that you're trusting men. Now you could say, well, no, God, Spirit is the one who helped them write. Okay, God's never told you that. So you can think that, but you're basing that off of what men have told you, not what God has told you or what you feel deep inside at all. Really think about if we were just born here with nobody else here on the earth, it's just you, and let's say it's just you, and you're starting to walk around and look at the world, you're never going to come to any of the conclusions that you currently believe in. You're never going to realize, you're never going to think that there's angels that came from the sky and slept with women. You're never going to think, oh, these giants came and they did all these things, and Satan fell from heaven and because he got in a war with God and all these things. You're not going to believe any of those. So if you believe them, it's based on books, and we know the books are written by men. There's no other way to see it. You can say that it's divine. Well, did God go down and he worked with the Catholic priests to choose what books went in? God's the one who was down there saying, we need the 66 books, we need this book, is that really what you believe? Or do you think that they had to go into the Council of Nicaea and these councils and they decided, I mean, it's known, these are arguments that they had over certain things like the Trinity, like was Jesus divine? So these were not, the answers weren't even given them by God. Where was God? Why would they have to question things? Why would you have to question, if you were inspired, why would you have to question whether or not Jesus was divine? You wouldn't. God would tell you. Of course he was divine. Right then, what are you doing? Oh, thank you. No, that book doesn't go in. That book's not. Throw it away. It's garbage. I never allowed that. I never inspired that. But God's missing from that whole entire equation. God's gone. So it's just men sitting in a room deciding which books are canonical. And then you have the Gospels, and the Gospels are written in a way that is meant to lure people into a religion. Okay? The idea of, all these prophecies were fulfilled are a joke. That's a joke. You cannot put anything behind prophecies that are told to be fulfilled when you can't verify, and those people knew the Old Testament. It was their only book that they'd ever read. So these people had the Old Testament in their head, and they were able to write a story that allowed for them to create situations where certain things were fulfilled. Okay? So it becomes almost impossible to be in a position where you're like, no, I still think that it's divine. Why? Why would you think it's divine? What about the Bible is divine? Where is the divinity in the Bible? Where's the thing that you read, you're like, nobody's ever said anything that good ever before? It's such a revealing nature that, no, there's nothing like that. There really isn't. The words are harsh, they're abrasive, they're human. God does things like kill people, smite people, but he does it in not a God way, but a human way. Floods the world. Everything that he's doing is like in a human way, right? We just read the other day, was it on this show where we looked up Strong's concordance on finding out that God did, according to these things, have animal skins that he clothed Adam and Eve with. So again, then God killed the first animal, which is strange. And if you tell me, well, he didn't, he actually just made it appear. Well, then you understand what I'm saying. Why wouldn't it say that? That is a God thing, but it doesn't say that. So they had opportunities to make it seem like God was divine or that he did God things, but he never does. He's jealous. He's vindictive. He's angry. He's frustrated. It says what is the word? He regrets making man. Okay. Well, I don't even believe that God can have regrets. So if we start to really look into this, none of that makes sense. How could God be jealous? How could a divine, all-knowing, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, you name it, how could that God be jealous? It doesn't make any sense. That's a very fickle God. That's like a child that would be like, I'm jealous of but you're the only God. You're the only one. Yeah, but I'm jealous that those people down there are believing in a different one. Well, who cares? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me that people are still falling for this. And, I was going to show you something here. Let me see if I can find it. Anybody want to join the show? Or is tinyurl.com/ I didn't plan anything really because I thought you guys were going to want to jump on, but nobody's there. How many people are watching? Any? Let's say hi to the chat. Let's do that, shall we? Say hello to the chat. We've got that verse saying his thoughts are not your thoughts is telling you ain't got no thoughts. Well, I don't know if you're, and if you want to say something to me, please put at Jeranism so it highlights my name, or else I can't go through all these chats. I'm scrolling up to see if anybody used my name. Thank you very much, JJ Hemkroop there, for putting on my shop link. By the way, you should check out JJ Hempcrete Bear. He's got his site at cbdrub.com. JJ's CBD Rub, JJSCBDrub.com. Check him out there if you want to get some of his homegrown hemp that he turns into rubs and the like. Eugene says, you should have P-Brain on your podcast. Yeah, right. How about when he stops making videos about me? The guy could have come to me once and said, okay, can we talk? No, he wants to just, he says I'm strawmanning God by saying that the streets of Jerusalem will be paved in gold. That's what it says. It's not strawmanning anybody when it says the streets were made of gold or the streets were solid gold. No, how does it say? Now I got to find out what it says exactly. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Whatever it is, it says, wait, I got to turn this off so it's not blocking. By the way, if you want to use tinyURL, that's right there. I'm sorry, not that one. Buymeacoffee.com/Jeranism. If you want to support the show, I got to turn it off because it is in the way. So let's go there. Thank you. All right. And nope. And there we go. So there's that. You should have P-Brain. P-Brain and I are going to really do a good conversation. Let's see if we got anything else here. Geometry in nature proves a creator. Everything in nature proves a creator. It's without question the intelligence that is in. You cannot create intelligence. Like intelligence doesn't just come out of nothing. So the intelligence that all these beings have, the need for food that is in these tiny little cells and animals and our cells is all proof of intelligence far beyond ours. Let me see here if we got anything. Good evening, my friends. Hello. See, Jaron goes through life using his brain, not trusting in what other men say. That's it. It's that simple. And could I be wrong? Absolutely. But again, I feel much better. I feel like such a cuck if I'm just like, what do these guys believe? Okay, I believe that too. What does this father say? Okay, I believe what that father says. I mean, what kind of existence is that? You might as well kill me. See here, looking if there's anybody else who's got anything to say. Nobody wants to jump on, huh? Nobody's got anything to say. All right. If you hate lying, then you're already a good person. You don't need faith and shit. Correct. Yes. I don't even see how faith is something that is impressive anyway. What about where in life do we use faith? And is it beneficial? It's not really. I mean, you can have faith that your house isn't going to get broken into. Go ahead and leave your house open. And there'll probably be half the year or maybe more that you can do that. And nobody's going to get in. Nobody's going to do anything. But then somebody will. And then you'll realize why we lock our doors. So the faith there isn't going to help you. Go cross the freeway with faith. It's not going to help you. Faith is not beneficial to humanity. They make it seem like it is. And again, these are all the tricks of the elite by saying, oh, have faith. The meek will inherit the earth. The rich don't get into heaven. Only the poor do. The poor will be blessed. All the Beatitudes, all the parables on the mount or whatever it's called, those are all horseshit. All the things Jesus says, he would have never said. Are you, if you don't love your mother or father, if you love your mother or father, son or daughter more than me, you aren't worthy of me. What, dude? I've never met you. My mom only birthed me. I mean, only let me suckle at her tit for 2 years, only fed me every single day until I was 18, only was there for me every chance I ever needed. You, sir, have never been anywhere. So I do not love you more than my mom or my dad or my kids. So sorry. So that's just, so I'm not worthy of him? Great. And anybody who falls for that trick, how could you be so naive to think that Jesus would say that? Would Jesus say that don't store up anything here on heaven? Just wait. Don't store up anything here on earth. Just your rewards will be in heaven. Just think of what that's basically saying. So you can take the position of, I'm going to trust that, but you don't trust Jesus. You trust men. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's go to Harmon. Harmon's jumped on. Harmon, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh,
How
fantastic.
come you're not on speaker? I can't hear you very well. It's my fault. I know. Oh, my phone's turned down. No?
I don't know.
Oh, well, I can hear you good enough, I guess.
Can you hear me good? On the YouTube, though, is okay?
Yeah, no, it's just, it's me. I'm not getting you through on my phone good, but I can barely hear you.
Okay.
But it's good. It's not like I can't hear you. No, I'm just glad you finally talked everybody out. You finally got it to where they're not.
Does that mean I win?
Normally, everybody's wanting to talk. I'm glad you've done it. I think you've completed your mission.
Well, I know. I don't want to get too excited about it, but it's like, all right, because all I want is people just to go like, okay, I understand your position. Great, let's move on. That's it. Just understand the position. It is the logical position, and I don't think. And I'm still willing to argue with anybody who says that's an illogical position, because again,
I'm wondering if those Christians, ones that are against crypto, if they would still accept crypto for tithing. I bet you they would.
Yeah, you're right. They would. Yeah, that I'm starting to see that as just such a big grift too. I think that all those pastors, I think they even know. They just take advantage of people, and they.
Oh, it's such a comedy show.
Yeah, it's so bad. Did you watch my show yesterday? There's that guy telling me, like, give me $1,000. God says you're going to give me $1,000 right now. And you can't give me 500? You're not going to give me 500. I want 1,000.
Yeah, I don't think you remember. I went on a mission and everything else.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
So I did all that stuff.
What religion was that? The Saturday
Mormon.
Saints? Okay. And what made you finally get out?
Well, I went overseas. I spent 5 years in Turkey, and I got to see where all the stories were, where the Apostle Paul from Tarsus, I was like 30 miles from there, went to that area, and where they talking about the Bible, where the waterfall is and everything else like that. And I'm going, okay. And then found out everybody just believes what they believe because that's what they were told. And I go, well, this is a bunch of hooey. So I got to see it. That's why.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see people going back. Like if you went to Rome as a Catholic, you probably would feel more because you're going to see ornate I mean, look at those churches are just huge and the statues, and it's just crazy to me because it has nothing to do at all with anything that God in the Old Testament said. The God of the Old Testament says, don't have idols, don't have, don't make graven images. And that's all they do. The Catholics are just like, well, let's put 55 statues in every church. Let's call all of our priests men. I mean, father, when it says don't call any man your father. It's funny. I'm just glad that I can't believe you talk people out. I mean, that's it. Normally when like when anybody like fakeologists, fakeologists, I don't know you know him or not. Yeah, of course, yeah.
But guys like that, no matter where you go, they don't want to talk about, even though they still don't want to talk about flat earth. But anytime, I don't care what chat you're in, I don't care if it's about mechanics, someone brings up flat earth, that thing lights up the board.
Yeah, that's true.
And Ab wanted to say the other day, oh, the flat earth is losing its whatever momentum or something. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Watch TikTok, watch anywhere. Anytime you bring up flat earth, that thing lights up the board. You know that.
Absolutely. In fact, that's when I get the most views, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't bring that up subject anywhere. In the Telegram chat on Epic.
Yeah, I love that.
Someone had said something. Did you see that?
I saw that whenever Freeman brings it up, that it's awesome to see him do that.
No, I'm not. Freeman didn't bring it up. It was just someone else brought something up, and the other one said, "Well, you believe the ball?" Oh yeah, this guy was mad. This guy today was mad, saying he paid $50 for your what you call it?
Yeah,
your coming up, your event. And he says, I feel cheated. I didn't know I was donating to a bunch of flat earthers. And that bullshit, he said. And Uncle V says, well, you feel you're cheated? I says, I'll give you your $50 back. He says, well, we're doing that to support Max. And he was going off on that. It was a pretty good chat back and forth.
Oh, I didn't see that.
About 7 guys laid into that guy who said that. You know?
Yep. And
it was pretty funny. I mean, here we are, because they're really strict on that channel. Don't talk nothing but Epic. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Right.
But like I'm saying, anytime that subject's brought up, I don't care where you're at, it gets crazy. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's so eye-opening, and I think that more and more people are finding it. It's not a matter anymore of like we've now spoken enough that everybody's heard it, and where are the proofs of the globe? I mean, this is what we need to start pushing now, is that these guys have every opportunity now. It's been 7-8 years to come forward with a show or with a test or with an experiment or some sort of a contraption they set up in Utah or whatever to show that there's curvature of the earth, and they can't do it. There's just because there isn't. So
the one I've been doing lately, just a simple thing, just to make them think, because they just don't. They never think about it. They like say we've always just accepted it. Like they always said, that old saying we've been saying for years. We just accept the reality that's been placed in front of us.
Correct.
And so I've been getting them on Tycho lately. I said, do you realize Tycho's only 53 miles around? And you can see it 240,000 miles away. Huh? Well, I don't let them do that. I made them say, I said, you know that little orange navel thing on the bottom of the moon when it's full? I said, that's called Tycho crater. And that's 240,000 miles away. And you can see it with your naked eye. Well, he says, well, that must be huge then. They all say that. It must be huge, you know?
Right.
And then I tell them, no, it's only 53 miles.
Right.
And it's been frying their brains lately. Just simple things. You know how it's fun. Time to time, things change.
Yep.
And so, and when they say it should be huge and you tell them how big it is, they don't know what to say. They really don't. They just stop. I love it. Just too many things. And the curve thing. What was that thing they were doing on you? I heard, what was that behind the curve or something I heard?
Behind the curve?
No, someone made a parody about it.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't in it. You mean beside the Jake's video?
Well, I have no idea whose it is. I just heard it on the chat.
Oh,
did Jake do one?
I made him and IPS put out a video called Behind the Perv, I think, years ago.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, I had never heard of that one.
Oh, yeah. It's all well,
just a hit piece.
Yeah, I don't know the whole thing. I've never really looked much into the allegations that they put on that guy Joshua something, who like was found guilty of sex with a minor or something. I don't know, but he's in the community, right? And so there's all this, and I've just never looked into it or really took a position one way or the other on it. Obviously, there's two ends of the story, and you know, I don't know which one it is, but again, you need to be careful if you're a guy. Just because a girl tells you that she's of age doesn't mean she's of age. So
that's true.
You know, you can't make excuses for him. That's we would all be in trouble if we did that. So, but I think that they just based the whole movie on this idea, and then they said, "Oh, Bob supports him all." Then they have videos of people supporting him, saying like, "Oh, I stand behind him." But again, his story was that I don't remember. No,
I don't know. It must not have been so big because it didn't get nowhere or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to say hi to you, and maybe now someone will call in. Who knows?
There are two people behind you. So we're good now.
Good enough.
Thanks, Harmon. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Later. All right. I wanted to read this real quick just so we... okay. Because again, it's so funny that we've got P-Brain thinking that he's going to make videos about me saying that I am strawmanning God. Let me read exactly what this verse says. We're in Revelation. My book called it Apocalypse. Revelation 21. We'll start at 20. Talking about these different things it says the 5th, the sardonyx, the 6th, sardius, the 7th, chrysolite, the 8th, beryl, the 9th, topaz, the 10th, chrysoprase, whatever, the 11th, jacinth, the 12th, amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. That is, each gate was of a single pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. So if somebody says that the streets of New Jerusalem will be paved in gold, is that strawmanning God? No. It says the street of the city was pure gold. So what do you mean? As it was transparent. They're like, no, it wasn't gold. It was just colored gold because it was transparent glass. No. It doesn't say that it was colored gold. It says the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. So it's gold. And there's many talks of the Bible about streets of gold. How do we know that that's not written by God? Because God doesn't give a shit about gold. Sorry, men do. Men wrote this. Men wanted this New Jerusalem to seem great. What do men think? The city of Jerusalem will be awesome. It'll be the streets paved of gold. Because they like gold. They respect gold. God doesn't. Let's go with Daniel from Toronto. Daniel, welcome to the show. We're starting your 4 minutes. Ahora go.
Hey, Jaron.
What's up?
So, first shout out to Harmon. Nice guy. I never met him. I never talked to him, but he's a lovely human being, so he deserves to have a shout out.
Good guy.
The other thing, I do agree with the title of your show.
Okay.
That they stole our divinity.
Right.
I don't know exactly how they done it, but they done it by different avenues, and one of them are that they serve us some form of organized religion.
Right.
And that doesn't apply necessarily only Christianity. I would
All of
apply
them.
to this, all of them.
Yeah.
So they replace the natural spirituality with religion. And they know that we are creatures of belief. So what I mean by that, I would say 99% of our time we spend within the realm or frequency, which if we would put a label, it would be belief. So we believe by default, and I would say 99% of all information encountered in our lives, we just believe them, and only 1% we know, because we somehow experience this 1% through either zetetic form of observance or we did some empiric experiments.
I'm going to stop your clock real quick because I want to ask you a question. So do you really, have you really thought about that number? Do you really think that that number is correct? Because I think that that's a bit of a stretch. You think 99% of what we think is a belief and only 1% is knowing?
Of course, this is just my own interpretation. I never read any studies about that, but why I'm putting to such an extreme that I give any theory or any opinion at least 1% as a benefit of
I like
doubt.
That. I get that.
So just to bridging with what you were saying, I do believe, same as you, that there is a creator who stands somehow out of our time. At the same time, I am willing to entertain idea that in some form there might be entity with is kind of like the opposite. If we live in the realm of duality, plus and minus, anode and cathode, I'm willing to admit that there might be an entity who is in constant opposition to the creator. Yeah. I don't have a first-hand experience with neither of them, but I'm giving at least 1% chance that such an entity would exist. And the one more thing about, I grew up, I told you many times, in a cult which is Unitarian and iconoclastic Unitarian. They don't use any icons, and they strongly believe that the creator is only one. And when I heard some discussion and debates, like you mentioned, Owen Benjamin and the Bobby guy, or whatever is his name,
Rim Job.
So at the same time, where I still believe that the creator is kind of one entity, but at the same time, if somebody would try to analyze the substance of this entity as a creator, I'm willing to admit minimum in the scope of this 1%, if vice versa, that he might be of some kind of Trinitarian nature, like a water. Yeah.
Okay.
That the water we can find in solid, liquid, and gas state. Yeah.
Right.
But any admittance or go deep to some dogmatical reasoning with someone, same, I would consider as a waste of the time,
Right.
Because I believe we are strongly limited to understand and comprehend the essence of that creator which we refer to.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. What you said. That's well put. And you're right. With our limited knowledge and our limited capabilities to verify things as fact, like history, that's where I would agree with you. That it is a waste of time if you're going to stand firm and say, no, I believe what I've read from these men, and somebody else like, oh, I believe what I read from these men. I mean, to me, it's kind of like, okay, cool. It seems like a waste of time.
It's the same waste, I would call it, in a way, energy, as we are on the same page about organized sport,
right,
or about anything. When we focusing so much on this one aspect of something that simply lives go besides us
Right.
and more important things.
Yep. All right. Well, I
Yeah,
appreciate
so
the call.
I guess that's my two cents for today.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoy your calls and do appreciate it. We will talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All right. Theo Kirkley, welcome to the show.
Holly Berry, pray for us.
Oh, I love Holly. Mm-hmm. Are you going to do?
Is that you?
I was singing yesterday after the show. Like, no matter what I was trying to say, it was just coming out as a priest song. I was like, oh my goodness, look what I've done to myself.
Yeah, I was just getting scared because I feel like they're coming for us, you know?
Who's they?
I always sing. Who is they? That's a good question, man.
Yeah, well,
They, themselves, those, you know? They went over there and they did those things, and they are coming now for us.
yes.
You know, it's them versus us, you know, us and them.
Unfortunately, we have very few on our team, I think. That's the sad thing.
That's why I'm freaked out, man.
Well, I don't think that they ever come after you. I believe that that's going too far. I think that there is a divine, now I'm just looking at the whole thing of there's this divine rule or divine system to where I don't think you can do things like that to people. No. Again, they can't like come and shoot you with a vaccine in your arm at your doorstep. But they can convince you to get a vaccine, or they can set up a situation to where the world kind of takes off and goes in this direction of a vaccine, and they're like, oh, we hope that they take that. But as far as like forcing you to do things, I don't think that that's as prevalent as we might think, but it's going to be forced in the way that if the entire country goes in whatever direction the country goes, and we don't want to go in that direction, we're going to have to separate ourselves somehow.
I think it's dirty. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They're
very true.
Scared.
Yep.
You know, like they don't want to get too close.
Right. Don't get too close to the plebs. Don't get too close to the plebs.
It's like, hey man, what the hell are you doing? Oh, nothing. Are you like trying to like manipulate me or something?
No, we would never do that. No.
Man, get your effing gosh darn motherfucking, you know, and then they're like, ugh, and then they just get her away.
Then they run. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like as soon as you brandish a knife, like they're oh shit.
Yeah.
And then they just like run. I
have this when we go for walks, I've got a stun gun. But the best part about it is you can press it and it makes this crazy sound that would just scare anybody away. Like I'll never actually have to use it because you just go press the button. It's like, and you can see the blue lightning bolts part and they're going to just run.
Wow. Yeah. Like, yeah, I think it's the media mostly because it's like, you know, I could just like
the media is
send words through the email to the, you know, head of MSNBC and then it's a lot easier.
I wonder if I don't know if a lot of this has to do with the media, because when I was young, we just had the 10 o'clock news, half-hour news, a couple stories, the weather, the sports, and that was it. And now that we have this 24-hour news cycle, the world's falling apart. Now, it also could coincide with the internet, obviously. And I think that's a big thing, that we can't be intended to try and present ourselves as acceptable or liked by thousands of people, because it's literally impossible, right? So think about in the past, we would have had to have gotten along with maybe 20 families, you know, in a small community, 50 families, whatever. But as soon as you get the internet, all of a sudden now you are acting like you've got all these people that you need to get along with, which is just literally impossible. You couldn't do it. So no matter what, people are always going to be hating you or not hating you on the internet. I mean, they're going to be hating on the internet. They're going to be people who were before in their house, right? So say somebody's just a dirtbag, they can't get a girl, they are kind of, they watch, you know, Price is Right all day or whatever, and eat cheese puffs out of their mom's basement. Okay, well that person, when the internet comes along, now can implant themselves into society, into life, and actually say things to people, talk to girls, talk to doing things that they wouldn't have done otherwise. So they can just carry over that kind of a dirtball nature right onto the internet. And this is what we get in like these chats and these comments when they're just deplorable people. They cannot be good people on the other end. And you have to realize that person wouldn't even survive in society. So then you kind of realize, oh, they only are able to do what they're doing because of the internet. So I I don't know. I don't really feel strongly about that, but I've thought about this idea that they have of some sort of internet non-anonymity, I guess you would call it. You know, IDing yourself or something on the internet. And I've thought about it. You know, I've really thought about it because, again, being anonymous on the internet allows you to just go and say the most hateful things, the most dirtball things. But I realize why we can't have anonymity thrown away. It's because the governments are the way that they are. If life was the way it's supposed to be, then yeah, you wouldn't want anonymity on the internet. You wouldn't want, if you want to say something with your real name. But the problem with that is then people would say things under their real name and the government would go get them. So that person has to speak anonymously or else the government will go get them. So this is the kind of the conundrum that we're in, which is all stemming from an overarching control mechanism that is the government. We've allowed them to go way too far. Things that used to be important to people like privacy, freedom of speech, all those things have been more than infringed. They've been destroyed. And so unless we can get those back to where they were, we're in trouble because as it is right now, we can't talk about certain things, can't say certain things. And it's only going to get worse in my opinion. Sorry, I was talking, you're back on your hook. Good.
Okay. Well, I would actually say I kind of disagree with you on the anonymity thing. I think that, it would require a certain amount of growth on the part of human beings to kind of live in a world where, we don't have the same privacy as we used to. I think if someone's coming to your house and they want to hang out with you and you don't want to hang out with them, just say, no, I don't want to hang out with you. And then that's it. But besides that, I think the way we are ruled is by our own fear. And if you don't have fear, if you don't have, shame or any other feelings like that, then you can't be ruled, you can't be manipulated. So it just matters, if you stand out in front and you say, here I am, I always use my name online everywhere I go.
Right.
If you just say that, hey, here I am, this is what I think. And, yes, I mess up. And yes, I have to make up for things I've done wrong. And I make mistakes. And I'm going to try and do better. And, you're going to see me change. Then I think nobody can really touch you. I wanted to say one more thing, sure. But I'm kind of out of time, right?
You go ahead. We'll let you finish.
I guess I'll make it real quick. So I think you kind of think we're pogs of God, like we're little fragments of God, like pog, just throw it down there. Hey, new experience. Cool. Let's get the slammer. That's where I get lost in the analogy. There's no one, can't use a slammer. Anyway, slammer was the bigger pog that he would use to disrupt the other pogs. Anyway,
I don't know. You lost me.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, well, so if life is a test, or if it's a way for God to experience things that he hasn't experienced, I think that doesn't work. And I basically don't have time to explain it. So that's all I have to say today.
It doesn't work?
It doesn't work because things don't matter. Morality is gone.
Why? If it's a test, why is morality gone?
Well,
so here's the thing. If you were given divinity and you could do anything that you wanted, you could create anything you wanted. And I don't mean create worlds, but I mean on a smaller scale, create the life that you want to live. And it's meant to see who is going to make themselves rich and powerful and who's going to make themselves do things for others and it's a real test. But what happens if the group gets here and says, I know what we'll do. We'll create this religion. We will make everybody else not realize their divinity. They'll be our slaves and we'll use our divinity to enslave them. So what's happened is now the world has gotten to a place where the new divine beings coming into the action don't know that. Because it's being taken from them. They're being lied to. And it's not even difficult for us to realize it. That's the thing. It's not like, oh, it's so far gone now, we'll never get, no, everybody could realize it tomorrow would be done. And that's why it's still going on. That's why God hasn't ended it, is because it can be, even if, like I said before, if one person was left and that one person had that divine spark and everybody else was evil, that one person could still convince the entire rest of them because that power is so much greater than the antithesis of it. And the only reason that these guys are getting away with it, they wouldn't get away with it otherwise, because you would have a bunch of divine people seeing these people do terrible things and we would put a stop to it. But the fact is, we don't see that we're divine enough to stop it. So why not? Well, because we're told Satan rules the world. So it's almost like you look at the evil ones and they're like, well, they're all working for Satan and we can't, if we just attack them, then Satan will just get new people. So there's this whole thing that comes with the stories that are told that make us think we're not divine. We are already enslaved. It's because it's Satan's world. He's the God of this world. We're born sinners. We're disgusting. We're not good in God's eyes. All those things are things that men taught us. That we're not, impressive. We're specks of dust, is what science teaches you. We're just smidgens. We're forgotten at the end of the universe. Every single thing that's pushed to us is meant to pull you down from any realization that you have total power and nobody controls you. Nobody's in charge of you. And I think that does work because it's a much better path than to teach people out of a book what is good and what is bad, and this is how you go to heaven and this is how you go to hell. Because that's not truly finding out who's a good person. There could be a murderous, hateful, disgusting man who says, I want to go to heaven, so I'm just not going to...
How are you finding out who's a good person? I mean, like...
Who's finding out?
There's no finding out at all. I mean, you're God already. You're divinitous.
Correct. So like you right now, when you right now look inside yourself, and let's say that right now you died. Do you think that you are did you pass the test here? Let's say that the test is the one I told you. So did you realize you were divine? Did you take care of all the bads you did in your life? Did you help people out because you were kind of rude when you were a child or when you were in your teens, or you did something wrong to a girl? Did you make amends for that? Are you a good man? Are you a good husband? Are you a good father? And if your answer is no to any of that, you didn't pass. You just judged yourself. There is no way to hide it. There is no way to get around it. There is no way to convince yourself.
Then what happens after the test?
Well, I believe that would be unknown. And the thing is, if we knew that, then it's not a real test. If you know you're going to go to hell for being bad, then you could be a bad person and you just purposely don't do the bad things. So that doesn't help anybody. But if you think about murdering in your mind and you think about raping.
Say that again. Say it again. I lost you there.
Okay. So let's say that you are a wicked person, let's say. And in your mind, you have thoughts of killing people and you have thoughts of raping women, but you read the Bible and you're like, okay, I get it. So if we're good, we go to heaven. If we're bad, we go to hell. Well, I'm just going to be good, even though I'm going to think about these things all the time. Think about murdering, think about all these things, but I'm going to believe in Jesus and I'm going to believe in, and I'm going to act good so that I go to heaven, because that's what essentially you'd be able to do.
It's cheating.
It's cheating. Right. Okay. Well, that's what basically is the setup of the Bible, is that all you have to do is believe in Jesus. Let's say that I know I say that and people are like, that's not what the Bible teaches. Okay. So what I'm saying is, that's
obviously crap too. I don't know why. I mean, so many Christians accept the idea that you just have to believe in Jesus. I'm sorry to all the Christians in the chat who are listening to my words right now. I don't hate you. I actually kind of like you. I have more affinity for you than a lot of other people, but it's really strange that you think you can just say, I believe in Jesus and I pray sometimes and go to church on Sundays and everything is fine and peachy. That is really stupid, man.
Yeah, in fact, that's why I think the pedophile priests think that. And so I think that when you've taught them that they're disgusting, they're gross, they have bad thoughts, we're all evil, we're all wicked in nature, and then they're put into these churches where they have no more connection with women, and the only connection they have is with these altar servers, I don't doubt that they feel like, well, I'm going to go act on that, but I've already given my life up for God, so I'm going to be forgiven. I believe in Jesus. So I think it's the worst doctrine that you could ever teach people, that somebody else died for your sins, that somebody else is responsible for. That's terrible.
A pretty stupid doctrine, and because we're all traumatized and we are so scared, and we have no personal empowerment to believe that we can actually remove ourselves from the muck that we've created for ourselves.
Right.
Well, of course, our parents and our society has helped. That's why we, glom onto these false doctrines. Anyway, let me ask you one question. I want you to kick me off now because I feel like I'm taking advantage.
Okay, well, let me ask you one question, just because I want to follow up on one thing. Because I feel really strongly that is the best method of finding out who's good. So I want to find out from you. Let's say that you were able to just put yourself in a godlike position where you created 6 beings, and you wanted to know out of those 6 who was the best person, who had the best heart, who had the best mind, do you think it'd be better to give them a rule book that says, do these things and you're great, do these things and you're bad? Or would it be better to just let it go? Let it go and see which of the 6 rises to the top. To me, it's much better to let the 6 rise to the top. They don't have any idea what they're doing there. So you're going to actually really get to find out which of those 6 people is actually good. Because if you give them a book that says, oh, do these things, feed the poor, feed the hungry, well, they're going to make sure that I got to go feed the poor and I got to go feed the hungry. But that person's not really good as much as they're doing something for a reward and not doing something because they're afraid of going to hell.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
And again, it just goes back to cheating, right? But so the way I would answer that is that like both are a little strange. Like if you take the deist approach of many of the early forefathers who supposedly thought that, God farted, the universe was created, and then he was like, oh, I got other stuff to do. See you later.
Right. I used to kind of have that belief.
That's not a very kind or loving or caring personal God, and that's not who God is at all. God's a very personal, loving God. And if you also say, hey, I'm going to, here's a book, right? And, well, you got to learn the language of your people first. That shouldn't be too hard to do. You got to read it, study it. And some of it doesn't make any, a lick of sense, but, just try and figure it out. That's kind of stupid too. Like that's not
good. I thought you were going to say it was good.
Have that God above us either. But what God did do is there are in fact laws. We are governed by laws. I know you don't really like government, but there are laws that God has created. And there's like the laws of karma. You feel bad when you do something bad. There's pain, and when you accept falsehood, there's pain. When you accept truth, there's happiness. When you do something good, it's a law of compensation. You do a good thing, you feel good. You do a bad thing, you feel bad. And then there's other laws like repenting. Like you can pay that compensation over time, or you can repent and go the easy route. If you just really feel all the damage that you've caused others and yourself, then you cry a lot and you feel really bad, and then you start to feel this heartfelt desire to change, and then you change lickety split. Or you can take years and years and years and repent, or like go through the process of paying all your dues for all the terrible things you've ever done, and it takes a long time. So there's a lot of different laws, not just physical laws, but you go out there and you walk, on God's beautiful green earth, and you see things happening in nature all the time, and God is telling you literally all the time stuff that's happening. In fact, in your law of attraction, another law of God, stuff is happening to you all the time, and God is basically telling you all the time, moment to moment, hello, people, right now, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I want you to know. This is your next lesson, my dude. All the time. So we don't live in an undynamic universe. It's extremely dynamic. And God's always there, egging us on, trying to get us to a better place. And I'll just finish with this, and then I will leave because I'm taking too much time.
Okay.
The test thing, the test giver, like, so God's the test giver. I think that's kind of petty, man. Like I don't see God say, hey.
He's not a test giver. You're missing the point. There's no God besides us. There is no God. There's no entity. What is he doing right now? Where is God? He's sitting on a throne. He's watching us. How do you watch 8 billion people? The ideas of what we've been taught about God are silly. That God is up. What is he observing everything that we're doing? Is he? No. That wouldn't even make sense. If he already knows what's happening,
so we're just experiential oneness beings. We're multiple and one at the same time, is what you're saying.
Correct. We are. Yes. There's that one. It all exists only because of God, and I think when we put a name to it, then people think a person, but I don't think it's a person. It is the everything that is, everything that is around. When we say it's raining, what is it? When we say it's 3:00, what is it? When we say, the whole it's thing is like, God is it. God is the ultimate it. Everything that is.
Sorry,
I gotta let you go. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, so it is, it gave us a test and also created us, and we are it. So we actually created the test for ourselves. It kind of sounds like some murkiness, like also like the Trinity.
It is very murky because it's just my own creation. It's my own mind. But
I appreciate your opinion, and I basically reject it. But I appreciate, you can have it. And thanks for your time, man. Later.
How's Jason?
Jason?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, you don't know Jason?
Did I talk to you about Jason before?
I just know who Jason is, but I was going to see if you were going to lie and tell me the truth, or no, or be honest. No.
Wait, who's Jason?
You don't know Jason?
Is this from the oblations I did last week?
No. Talk to you later. David Sunch. Welcome to the show.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. You?
Pretty good. So,
Your clock is on.
I know you believe in manifesting, and I actually tried it. I'm the one who texted you on Telegram to let you know it worked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. How powerful, like, do you think there's any limits to manifesting, or do you think it's unlimited?
I think maybe with groups you can do more, but I don't know.
Okay. So with groups, do you think it's possible that since the whole world believes in the ball, they could turn the world into a ball?
Technically, I have started to wonder that myself, because there's a concerted effort to push different lines of thinking, right? And so it kind of seems like, could we be creating those, if enough people believe that Saturn, the light in the sky, is a planet of some type that people can go to, or it's, whatever, can it become physical, right? And I'm not sure that we can manifest physical things like that. I don't think we can create a physical thing out of nothing, right? So I'm not sure about that. But again, that's something we could explore and something that we could, test. And my next thing is going to be with the Rice test. What I want to do is do it without voice. I want to do it with my thoughts and see if the same thing happens. If it doesn't, then I kind of can lean forward and say, okay, so that means that it is the vibration of our voice that's doing it, not the intent. Because if I before said hateful things to the Rice and said loving things to the Rice, and then we saw a noticeable difference, what if I just think those things? So that's going to be my next test myself.
Yeah, I think it would have to be thinking, because otherwise, then if you ever had to change anything in any form of manifesting, that means you literally have to speak it out loud.
Right,
So,
which you didn't do, right? When you manifested, you didn't.
And I didn't speak it out loud. I just thought it in my head, and I visualized it while I was trying to dream. So
yeah, if people don't know what he's talking about, I told everybody for a homework assignment, to go to bed thinking of something that's obscure. And he wrote me and said that he had thought about, you want to tell him? I don't want to tell him if you didn't want to say that.
yeah, I live in Miami, so there's no hot white girls in Miami. They're all Latinas. I'm gonna try to go with something that's out of the ordinary that I never see. So I tried manifesting a girl wearing blonde with brown eyes at the checkout aisle at the grocery store. And the day,
you're breaking up a little bit. I don't think people.
The aisle. Another girl turned the corner. My bad. I'm driving right now, so I might be losing. Yeah, I was able to make it come true, and that's something that you never see.
So you're going to try it again? We're losing you.
I could. I mean, I'd rather. Can you hear me?
Now we're losing you a little bit.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. I'm driving. Right for better.
Try one more time. Okay, can't really hear him really well. Let's go to Troubling Tribune. Troubling Tribune. TT. What's up, TT? Oh, we lost him. Where's he at?
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. How are you, my friend?
Doing very well, and yourself?
Good. How was your debate last night?
It was awesome. It was awesome. We had a really compelling presentation by Space Audits.
Oh, he's good.
Just completely, along with Witsit, demonstrably destroying general and special relativity and red shifts. We were going into how bad the data was with the Eddington redshift data. So really compelling stuff. We had Demon Stride and Ruhif on.
Oh, joy.
Our Globers.
Did you get anywhere?
I mean, what do you think?
I don't, they don't have any intent on. They don't want the truth. They want atheism to be real, and they want God to be fake. That's it.
Well, Demon Stride was he just really seemed intent on burden flipping. So we asked him point blank several times. It's like, yeah, but what about this messed up data? Isn't that at least fishy? Can you at least admit that? That's pretty weird. And he's just like, no, it just doesn't seem compelling. And I was like, well, what doesn't seem compelling? It was like, well, the evidence that you're bringing for your positive claim. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, that's
bending
their
space-time
best
is
technique. That's their best
fucking
goal, right? I mean, they have to turn it around because it's a way to be very, how do I explain it? Let's say that you and I were chemists, and somebody came to us and said, chemistry is not true. It's not, it's all a lie. Then we if we just asked for like a replacement, well, then give us the replacement periodic table of elements. Well, that's going to be very difficult for people to do, right? That are just claiming that what you have is fake. So it's like an easy way out because they know that how they got all those numbers with hundreds of years and hundreds of scientists and rewritten papers and peer review and everything that's taken to get us where we are today. So they know that we can't possibly supplant that. So they just keep saying like, oh, how does the sun work? How does the moon work? Well, it's like, yeah, how would we know that?
What's really funny about it, Jaron, is that it's such a heavy projection too when they start debating and start using that tactic in particular, because obviously, just to be point blank with it, the easiest thing to do is to be the skeptic in a position, right? You basically get to be there and say, nuh-uh,
right.
That's not compelling enough. You need to meet this burden of proof, and
which
that's
is
fine,
is what scientists are supposed to be, but.
Exactly. The truth fears no scrutiny. It shouldn't fear any bar or burden set, right?
Right.
But yet they don't want to talk about the falsification and glaring problems of their model. They just want to talk about trying to falsify our model and not even talk about the globe whatsoever. Right. And that's because I think deep down they know that there's just absolutely tons and tons of problems with it.
Yeah, I think they know that, but they also know like these men must be working towards it. The scientists must be great men who are working towards getting to the truth. And so they're just going to stand behind it no matter what. I mean, now I was watching, that girl, that German lady, Sabine, is her name, Sabine Hefecipher or something. I don't know. She talks about physics and things like that. But she did a video the other day talking about how it looks like dark matter isn't real. She says every time that, they've got a new discovery, dark matter doesn't fit. So there are some speaking out, but you're just not going to get it from these, know-nothing repeaters that are the people that we go up against on YouTube, right? Or TikTok or anybody. I mean, these guys are clueless. They probably their whole life were just not very popular and just and this was their opportunity to get out there like, wait, somebody's saying the earth is flat. I can talk about the globe. And it's because they're well-learned in the lie. And so they feel really good about it. They think they're doing something good. And it's the first time in their life they've been able to be like, oh, look at me, I'm popular now. And that's why they all do what they do. But they don't actually know science or know that dark matter is a problem or know that there's a problem in cosmology. And they don't want to research because that's why they like science. Science allows you not to have to do that.
Right. You get to just supplant your thoughts and what you believe for, what the elites have told you.
And let's be honest, people love to watch TV. People love to watch movies. People love to go to sporting events. People love to go to clubs and go out drinking. And really, which avenue is easier to do that? The one where you say, okay, I'm going to believe whatever these guys believe, or the one that says, shit, I got to look into everything. I got to research. I got to do videos. I got to talk to people. I got to do debates. Clearly, one of those avenues is easier, and they take the easy way out. That's it.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, shit. One of these I have to have conviction with.
Right.
But the reason why I was calling is pretty funny. Do you believe in synchronicity at all?
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's really, really interesting that you mentioned the rice experiment on the previous call, because the reason why I was calling in was to actually remind the audience, possibly you if you had forgotten about it. And I was actually going to suggest what you just suggested with the next step.
Well, that's funny. I just talked to my wife about it yesterday, too.
It was to obviously try to do it with only using thoughts. That way you can take out the voice in the equation. But there is a possibility here that we should consider, and that is that that whole and not to get all Christian-y, right? My position on it, but there is that part in the Bible, that thing that pastors like to say, that out of outflow of the heart the mouth speaks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that might actually be 100% true, and when you're vocalizing an intent, that is intent crystallized in some fashion.
Well, especially if you go Christian belief, or it seems, that God spoke the world into existence. So he didn't think it into existence. He spoke it. So maybe it is the speaking it is powerful. We already know that speaking is way more. This is why I know that we're divine and we're just missing it. Is that some things are so amazing that we don't even realize, like language. It's amazing that I'm able to speak a word and everybody listening to me knows what I'm talking about. Like, we just don't give it enough credit. We don't think about that. For me to say rainbow. And immediately everybody who's listening to this can picture what I'm talking about. That is incredible. So the words themselves are incredible. And we don't even give them any thought. We just move on to that. We just talk sentences, throw words around. But the fact that I can say one word and everybody listening gets an immediate vision in their mind of what I'm talking about is pretty magical.
Absolutely. And, to harp on the whole, like, because you mentioned the group thing, I definitely think that it works better in groups, but it has to be groups of the same intent. They've
Right.
actually done experiments with this. I can't remember the name of the machine, but there's the machine that can pick up, basically can pick up electrical impulses.
Yeah, I was looking for that test recently and I couldn't find it. What would you search to find that? Because I heard an interview with the lady that was in charge of it, and she was talking about how they put two men together. Well, first they had men do it, then they had females do it, and there was about the same results that they were able to make this machine, whatever.
It was like 50-50, they said.
Yeah, it was about what you would expect. And then they did male and male, and it was about the same. And they did female, female, they're about the same. And then they put males and females together, and it went up 7 times.
Well, they also had one right before that. They were able to increase the results by a little bit by having friends. So when you had two boys or two girls together that were like really close friends, still you could still get that effect.
Right.
But nothing was as potent as having a bonded pair. Is what they called it. But that's when you have a man and a woman who are in love. Which just makes perfect sense. If everything that exists is just a physical representation of the astral or the heavenly things, as to say, then it just would make sense that this physical representation, the actual man and woman coming together in intent to have an effect on the universe, could quite possibly create some amazing things. But I definitely want to I'm going to be joining you in the Rice experiment in the pure intent version.
Okay.
My hypothesis is that it's still going to work, but that it's not going to be as potent as an effect as if you had spoken it. And that's just because the spoken word is more crystallized intent. But that doesn't mean that simply having the intent and focusing on that without words will have no effect. So that's my theory on it. I'm excited to put it to the test, and I think that everybody who should, because what it means, right? The whole point of doing the Rice experiment is that if we can actually verify the actual thing, then this is going to prove out manifestation, which is going to open up a whole nother set of questions. Sorry about that.
No problem.
About how this reality works and what we can be doing. And I think it will answer a huge question on why all the religions and science is set up giving us these results the way that they are. I think that my theory is that it's all designed to keep us from being players.
Well, it's crazy too, because the thing that we're talking about, right? So the idea of manifesting or creating anything like that would be metaphysical. So it's amazing that science has been constructed in a way that they cannot in any way address the metaphysical. So they cannot do the Rice experiment because we're talking love and hate are metaphysical things. They're not, we can't measure it, right? So it's just interesting to me that all the things that would prove what we're talking about, science isn't capable of proving those things, even though they are provable, even though we can do these tests or experiments like we're talking about and actually come to a place where we can say, yes, this is true. Because we can just trust each other that when you do it, you're actually doing it to really put love and hate into it. What do you think about this? Last question, I'll let you go. What do you think about using apple slices instead of rice? My wife was saying that she thinks that they will go bad faster, and we might actually be able to get results in like a week or 2 weeks. If you're going to do the rice, I might try apples, and I might try doing the voice first with the apples and and then seeing if I get the same results, and then go from there and do the thoughts on the apples. But I'll probably do that. I just want to see what the apple time is, because I do see what she's saying. I mean, if you leave an apple out on the counter, it's brown by 2 hours. So I mean, if you cut an apple and leave it outside on the counter.
So how would you go about preserving the apples so that
I would just cut cut a half of an apple and then make it into about 3 slices or 3 different chunks, and then put them in mason jars and seal them.
Yeah, that should be pretty interesting. It might just be that they all just go bad because it's apples, but
Yeah, but I
think
wonder
it
if
would
one of
be-
them, if I can keep one looking a little better than the other, simply by giving it, positive thoughts and love. And so I'll try it and we'll see how it goes, because I just want to
Would
see if
be-
we can speed that up at all.
it would be wild. I think it would be an extremely a powerful response, something powerful to show if you could demonstrate that you were actually able to keep one of the apple slices preserved when all the others were.
Yeah, I thought about a way of doing it like, it's just not going to work. I was going to say, like, could I go live? I wonder if you could go live with like I wonder if I just do TikTok every day. Maybe I'll do
That's what
that.
a lot of people do.
I've never done a live TikTok. Maybe I'll reach out to you to help me with that. You've obviously done it many times, so I'm not even sure how you do it. So I'll reach out to you on TikTok.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I can walk you through it.
Because I was just thinking, rather than have people say, "Oh, you faked it," or this, it'd just be better to show here's me putting the apples in the jars. Okay, great. We'll see you tomorrow. Alarm goes off at 9. I turn on the thing. I go live. Here I am. I'm gonna. Again, the love and hate part isn't always great for people to see, but it's you got to do it. So it's part of your. I do tell off that piece of rice or that rice bowl.
So
All right.
you remember? I know
Okay.
you're about to let me go, but this is actually also pertinent too.
Sure.
You remember when you had the remote viewers on?
Yes.
The guy's name. You remember one of the problems that he said was that when other people in on it or other people knowing about it, how like intense and
right.
positions can have an effect.
Right. So then you wonder, like, if I go live on TikTok, is there people out there that are hoping that my experiment fails?
Boom.
Right. Good call.
That is actually the big reason, just to dispel the whole. And I'm not saying that I'm like in favor of the elites or anything. I think they're evil pieces of shit. But the reason why even not evil pieces of shit who do like spiritual work and Eastern philosophy type work keep it a secret is because they do believe that other people's intents and can affect that, so they keep it to themselves. That way, nobody else's thoughts and will can muddy what they're trying to do.
Right. So you're saying maybe the elites know what I'm talking about divinity, and they feel like they have the best direction in mind for humanity, and they don't want us to know that we're divine because they're afraid of what direction we might take it.
Exactly.
And they have to be a part of it. Gotcha.
Exactly what the Masons say directly, why they have to keep those spiritual shit secret.
Right.
Because regular people aren't ready for it. They can't handle it, and they'll just destroy themselves and everything with it.
I read a book last night that said that they just tell us that the sun moves and that the earth moves, and because we're not ready for the truth. And he says the truth is that the earth doesn't move, nor do the stars move, which is weird. It's like,
around that.
and I read a book last night that's from a collection. All right, I'll let you go. I got 2 more callers, and then we're going to be calling it a day. Thanks, Trouble. I'll reach out about maybe doing a live, but I think maybe I'll just try the apples the first time with myself to see if at least that'll work.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, later. David, you're back. Are you doing any better?
Yeah, how do I sound?
Better.
Awesome. Yeah, sorry about that. So, getting back to, I really want to go on about the God subject, honestly.
Okay, go ahead.
So I feel like probably for the last 2,000 years before they started going crazy into science, like religion was the main scam to control people.
Absolutely.
Like it used to be where they weren't even able to read the Bible themselves. They had to go to the priests
Correct.
to get the information for what the book says.
Right.
And then when they tell them what it says, it's like they can just relay whatever information to just keep you weak, to keep you down, not to revolt, not to go kill the people that are holding you back.
Right.
It's like it's such an easy way to control. And then just the fact that it's still here 2,000 years later,
right?
People can't see through it. And then we have the new scam of science, and it's like the two scams are fighting each other.
They don't even know it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you just have to pick what scam you want to be a part of.
Right. And whatever scam you choose, both scams don't believe in the truth, which is that you're divine or that you have all these energies or powers or you have much more capability than you think, because both those tell you that you don't. Both those tell you, one tells you you're a lowly sinner that God doesn't even want to look at, and the other one tells you you're just a lowly piece of dust that is inconsequential.
Yeah, so both have the same outcome. So shouldn't that be proof of the scam?
I thought so, but people don't see that. But and that's why I think it's unique that I went to a Jesuit high school, in that I've got the inside scoop of the fact that they pushed you either into religion or science. And I never understood it. And even when I got out, and even when I woke up at 35 or so, I still looked at that and I said, oh, they just want you in a belief system. But I never realized that, okay, well, now if they want you in one of those belief systems, then there must be a reason. And the reason why is if we look at what those belief systems don't believe, that must be the truth. That's basically where I've gotten a majority of my thoughts from, is they wouldn't push me into something that is the truth. They wouldn't push me into religion if it's the truth. They wouldn't put. So there must be something that both don't agree in, believe in, and everything that I'm talking about. We are divine. Both don't believe that, right?
Right.
So,
the Christians, like, what do you think's the best way to wake them up? 'Cause I don't like, you broke the spell for me. I used to think that the book was perfect. Basically, atheists that said it wasn't, just where people hated God and had like no legitimate claims. Until you started reading all the biblical verses, I'm like, oh crap, that actually is pretty bad. I didn't know that was in there. Because when you go to church, you don't hear that stuff.
right.
So I feel like we have to make sure that we're not going to straw man any of the Christians. So
Me
like
too.
sometimes,
The hard part is about that though is that it's always can be considered a straw man because you're interpreting the Bible. So again, anybody can say, "Oh, that's a straw man. We don't actually believe that." Okay, yeah, I know that you don't, or I don't. How do I know what you don't believe? Some people believe it, right? So you get into this kind of tough position that I don't want to get in. I don't want to argue with people about it. I want people just to. I accept their position. They should accept mine. That's it. Now,
yeah,
do I think one is different than the other? One's clearly better. Yes, but I'm just saying I can accept that you have a belief because I understand why you have a belief. I had it too. I was raised by parents who taught me that. So I have this idea of God and the Son and they're sitting up on thrones. And, I have that same opinion or that same view in my mind. So I get it. But I think that the best thing to do is, as always, not give answers to the test. So I'm just going to, I think we just got to talk and hope that people understand. The problem is that I just want to be able to say what I think, and then people tune in if they want, don't tune in if they don't want. But then they go and they make videos and they have big problems and they get other Christians to hate me. It's like, okay, whatever. I mean, what am I going to do? So I guess it's just I'm not trying to convince them.
Yeah. So like, what's the end goal? Because do you think it's possible that we could just lead people to nihilism? Like, oh crap, my God isn't real. What's the point of life? And then they just go off the rails.
That's the hardest part. The hardest part is that I recognize that I'm a better person, or I think I'm a better person because I grew up Christian. Now, that's saying that if I would have grown up atheist, I could see myself of going down a different path. Now, would I have, no matter which way I was raised, come back to this? I don't know. You can never know that, right? So I guess the worrisome thing is that, like you said, I don't want to turn people away from being good. So if for some reason what I'm telling them to do makes them a worse person, then that's not what I'm looking for, right? Like if somebody says, "Oh, we can manifest things," and I'm going to go manifest this, this stripper show up at my house. I'm going to manifest for money to just, again, then you're like, okay, well, you're not. That's not the point. But again, that's their choice. I'm not doing it for them.
Right.
So I really believe that the best test would be to put us here and leave it alone and let it iron out and see what happens and see. And I do believe some people here, they recognize their divinity and they use it to control you and control the world and run the world. And that's what they've chosen to do with that. Now, is it the same for them and somebody who chooses to help people and do all the, in the end of the world, are both those treated the same? That would be weird to me if they were. It'd be really weird. But I don't know. And I don't think they know either. That's the point. So have you heard the term where they say it's better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven or something like that?
Yeah.
Right. I think that's kind of
what the elite are doing here, but they have to know somehow that like when they die, because they know they're going to die, that they're going to be protected somehow. They got to have some kind of loophole, right? But you wouldn't think God would allow a loophole.
You wouldn't think so, but I wonder if the loophole is as simple as if you don't like do really, really bad, that you come back for another try.
So you just convince other people to do bad? So like Hillary's not actually killing people, she's just making other people do it?
Correct. Like George Bush probably has never killed somebody.
Yeah.
But he has sent armies to kill thousands. So again, how would they know that? I don't think that they know. And again, maybe they're told things and we don't know that that's true. I'm just saying people are...
I mean, I think that makes you worse, man. Like, if that was me doing that, where I'm like, oh, I killed millions of innocent people because I portrayed a lie, then I would tell myself 100%, like how you say we judge ourselves. Like, I'm not worthy of coming back here. I made the whole entire world a piece of crap.
Right. But maybe what I'm saying is, let's say that they were told something different. Like, we don't know what people were told and why they act the way they act. So they might think something different. Doesn't mean that they're correct. But let's say that
we
they
don't
were
think the elite know the truth. They're just operating on whatever they think.
Well,
like, who knows what's going on? There's got to be.
See, I think that's where
know, right?
I think that's where we're mistaken. I think that we think that somebody must know, but the fact is, if you look around, nobody fucking knows. Nobody knows. That's the whole thing. So you've got Gnosticism, you've got ancient beliefs, you've got the Sumerian tablet. Everybody is searching for that person who has the answer, and the answer is inside you. That's the one place nobody's searching. So that tells me that you could tell. I mean, we already know they've convinced Christians. Let's take Christians just as an example, that believe strongly in the whole story just because they were told it. Period. There's no actual God coming and telling them. There's no actual seeing Jesus rise from the dead. They just believe it. So once we know that, then we know that the elite could just be told what they believe, and they believe it. It could be silly as could be. It could be, oh, the karmic rule is as long as you don't actually kill people, you get to go to heaven. So they might think that. It doesn't mean it's true, and it doesn't mean that they've got good reason to think it. It just means that people believe things that they're told, and from there, you never know. I'm going to let you go. Got one more person. Thanks, though, for the call. Oops. Am I there?
That sounds good. Right.
Peace. Wheelchair Bear, you are the final contestant on The Price is Right.
Good to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I can hear you great.
I can't see you. Can you? I'm not on camera, am I?
You were, but you're not now.
Oh.
What? Why? What happened? What?
I don't.
You don't want to see me?
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, on there you mean? Yeah, because I have your picture on this. You're looking at yourself, and yourself is a black box.
Oh, yeah, no, I can just see my dog. So,
I
don't know what's going on. I couldn't up StreamYards after I went out to send some texts. So
okay.
I wrote down some things.
All right. Do you want to see what you have a chance to win?
Do I want a chance to win?
Yeah. You could,
yeah, sure.
All right. Well, you
and
might
finally,
win.
Joy, how about Hanukkah?
I'm just kidding.
And finally, Joy.
I'm not giving it away. Sorry. Go ahead.
Excellent. So God is energy and is kind of like a chain link, is kind of is within us. And the whole thing is kind of like a chain link system, right? Is that what you're kind of thinking? Chain
link and how? I mean, you mean a chain breaks. If one piece breaks, then the chain's no longer a long chain. Is that what you mean?
Not a chain link fence.
Who said that's right?
That's right.
Oh, it's my, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
So, okay. I thought that's kind of what you're thinking. Now, another thing is back when there were more Christians, more people going to church, it seemed like the morality was a lot better, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Or morals. People had better morals. They seemed to be smarter in general. And the West, like politicians are going pretty hard on Christians. And now Putin is sticking up for Orthodox, or at least he says he is, right? And so is that all part? I think that's all part of it. I think Putin's in on it, and he's trying to appeal to Western Christian, maybe more right-wing people, so that the left wing can maybe, I don't know, entrap them, maybe.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I can't talk. You have an echo.
You can't talk?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'm doing this thing. Okay, so the open book test thing. So he gave us the rules and is testing us. They could consider that an open book test, but I was wondering what most people would prefer, to live amongst good Christians that follow Jesus' word, or a bunch of atheists that prefer transgenderism. That's a pretty easy answer. The only problem is there's the majority of people don't do that. And even
Correct.
the ones that do maybe are not, they might seem good on the outside, but then they're doing things or.
Oop, did I kick you out? Oops, their mic isn't connected. I might have done some damage to you there. I meant to go in here and do, oh, now I can't. Oops. Sorry, Wheelchair Bear. I think I muted your mic or something somehow. But there was an echo. I couldn't, it was, people couldn't stand it. They told me or in the chat to get rid of this guy as fast as possible. Just kidding. All right. Well, we've gone the full time. I think we're good. And I thought we had a lot of good calls today. I thought we got some stuff ironed out, or at least thought about. I do think that you could consider an open book test. It's just more of a, I don't want to call it an experiment, because I do think that there's a chance. Again, we wouldn't know these things. If we knew the end result, I'm not sure that's a real test. It's kind of like school. We understand in school, right, that all that we're not getting the smartest student. We're getting the student who is capable of memorizing the best, right? So maybe they have no friends and they just go home and they memorize things, and then we call them the smartest student. But really, we're not getting the most intelligent people out of that. We are getting the best order followers, right? And we know that, and that's what we say, and we recognize that. But we, for some reason, don't see that when it comes to the Bible. We don't realize that all the people who believe in the Bible are order followers. They are people afraid of the Creator. They have been forced into a fear of going to hell. They are good only because they want reward. They are haughty, ego-driven. They are. This is what you just said. Wheelchair Bear was great when you're talking about, would it be better to live amongst a bunch of Christians or who believe in Jesus as their savior, or atheists? Well, that's a no-brainer answer to me. However, the reason that you have to go against it is because most Christians, and I mean a high percentage of them, are nothing more than holier than thou, puffed up, kind of like, look at me. You don't have to say, oh, and they just drop Bible verse after Bible verse in the comments and the chats, as if they're gonna get to heaven. God's gonna be like, I love you so much for dropping all my verses there in the chat. So no, it's just not gonna happen. You're dropping the words of men. You're letting men speak for you rather than speak for yourself. It's the most unimpressive thing I've ever seen. Bible verses are not impressive. I can go grab verses from Stephen King's book. Big deal. Unless you've got some evidence to me that God wrote the Bible, in which case you don't. So there's no evidence of that. There's only evidence that there's a book that we can't even date, that the Old Testament God is not worthy of worship. And so I don't really care much about the Old Testament, other than to say, well, that's not God. So therefore, I clearly don't follow that God. Jesus is a question, but if Jesus would have come and started a new religion, that would have been a problem for them. The Jews didn't want that. The Jews wanted you to believe in YHWH. They want you to be, so what do? They create Jesus, and they say, here, this way, these guys are either going to believe in this character who's just a guy, right? Or they're going to believe in YHWH, but they don't follow any of the laws. So they're not going to be, they think they're God's chosen people. Come on. Why would you follow a book that talks about a chosen people? The Israelites. God's just freeing them from slavery. Why didn't he free other people from slavery? Still slavery going on today. Why doesn't God free them? So we're supposed to believe God is leading these guys through the desert and taking out nations. And again, people always say, but you don't understand, there's giants. They're killing giants. Great. Doesn't matter. If you go kill somebody, you become a worse person for it. Doesn't matter who you kill. If you've ever had to shoot something, an animal, I think you're probably a worse person because of it. You've got a little bit more of that inside you. So I don't think God, the creator of all that is, said, I'm going to have my people go kill those giants and then they'll be good people. Or I'm going to have them sacrifice these animals to me and then they'll be good people. It just doesn't make any sense. What it sounds like is a human wrote those rules and those regulations, and then they told stories to make the people believe that God was on their side, right? We're going to go battle this nation. Everybody's worried about it. We're scared. We don't know if we should go. So they send like a crowd before them to go kill everybody. And then they bring all the Israelites in there and like, look at God killed everybody for us. They're like, what? God is on our side. He does care about, we are his chosen people. It's just very easy to fool people. Think about can two people easily fool one person? And the answer is yes, right? For instance, if me and you were talking and we say, hey, when so-and-so comes over, let's say that earlier today we were driving around and somebody threw a soda through the window and it hit you, and then we both got out and kicked that guy's ass. Okay, so when that person comes over and we begin to tell that story, it's very easy for us to convince this person that we're telling the truth. The person's not going to take why would these two lie to me? Okay, great. Now think about the fact of, is it still easy if it's two of us and 50 people? And the answer is yes. Is it easy for two of us and 100 people? Yes. That liars can get away with so much. Liars can get away with pretty much anything that they want because they're able to construct a lie and get people to believe it. And we know that that's wrong. So those people who've done that throughout their life, who have lied, deceived, convoluted, distorted, I think that there's punishment for that. I don't know what the punishment is. I think that a punishment could be many things. A reincarnation in kind of a lesser situation could be forever sleeping. Like, for instance, if you rape a bunch of people or you killed a bunch of people and you die, maybe you just sleep forever. That's it. And that is kind of the idea of hell, and the fact that you just don't get to spend eternity, and you probably came from there. That's even the worst part. The worst part is we probably chose to come here. Like, we were somewhere divine and it just got boring in some way, or we were just like, we want to go down to earth. We want to incarnate onto the earth. But there's a chance that you don't make it out. So again, these are just my beliefs. They're not a religion for you to follow. There's no doctrine. There's no dogma. It's just hashing some of these things out in my mind because I no longer can jive with anything from the book. It just cannot be the word of God. That's it. It could have originally been. Sure, if you want to tell me, well, could it have originally been? Sure, I guess so. But I do find it weird that the Old Testament says things like God never changes. And then he comes as a completely different person, right? Jesus is 100 times different than YHWH in every facet. YHWH is eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, kill that person for picking up sticks on the Sabbath. Jesus comes and says, no, love your neighbor, love your enemy, turn the other cheek. And the Sabbath is not made for man. The man is not made for the Sabbath is made for man. We're going to pick these tares if we want. So he completely comes and does change things. And so and then we read the other day about circumcision, remember? And we said, these things you must do for all eternity or forever. Perpetual was the word he used, perpetual. These are perpetual ordinances, never changing, yet they're changed. We don't do them anymore. So I just opened the Bible into this one page that I have pencil marks in my Bible. Let's see here. There's pencil marks wherever I have like funny things that I've read before. And I just opened this right pencil mark, and it says here, this is Deuteronomy 33:39. He says, learn then that I alone am God, and there is no God beside me. Now see, that's hilarious. This is the Old Testament. Then learn then that I alone am God. Oh, but he's three. He's 3 in 1. That's why he said, I alone am God. Why wouldn't he say, I and my 3 other persons are God? It's because the Trinity came about in the year 200 or 300, not in the Old Testament. There's no discussion of the Trinity in the Old Testament. And there is no God besides me. Well, except for the other 2 that are also God. Trinity's dumb. And it is I who bring forth death and life. It is I who inflict wounds and heal them. And from my hand there is no rescue. To the heavens I raise my hand and swear, as surely as I live forever, I will sharpen my flashing sword, and my hand shall lay hold of the quiver. I just think that's great. He's swearing by himself. I raise my hand to myself, and I swear by myself that I've been living forever. As clear as I live forever. That's just funny to me. So, I mean, here, remember, this is great. I just opened to this. This is interesting. With vengeance, I will repay my foes and requite those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall gorge itself with flesh. With the blood of the slain and the captured, flesh from the heads of the enemy leaders. Exult with him, you heavens, glorify him, all you angels of God, for he avenges the blood of his servants and purges in people's land. So Moses, together with Joshua, son of Nun, went and recited all the words of this song for the people to hear. So the weird thing is here that this is not Jesus. Not two persons in one, not three persons. Jesus is not the type of person to say, with vengeance I will repay my foes, and I will requite those who hate me. Where before he says, turn the other cheek, love your neighbor, love your enemy, be kind. I will make my arrows drunk with blood. Your arrows? So just saying that once you've realized that the Old Testament God is not worthy of your worship and you stop being afraid and you have some fucking cojones, then you'll be like, okay, God would clearly want me to read the book and decide whether the character that they're calling God is God or not. I look at it and say, without a doubt, there's no way. There's no way. Just go to Leviticus, anywhere, and read all of Leviticus, and if you still believe that's God, good for you. It just cannot be. The things that are said in Leviticus are disgusting. They are rules and regulations for what to do with animals and turtle doves and personal cleanliness. I mean, it's such a speaking of man. Imagine that the creator of the world said this. This is Leviticus chapter 15. This is men speaking, not God. The Lord has said to Moses and Aaron, speak to the Israelites and tell them, every man who is afflicted with a chronic flow from his private parts is thereby unclean. Such is his uncleanliness from this flow that it makes no difference whether the flow drains off or is it blocked up, his uncleanliness remains. Any bed on which the man afflicted with the flow lies is unclean, and any piece of furniture on which he sits is unclean. Anyone who touches his bed shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. Whoever sits on a piece of furniture on which the afflicted man was sitting shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. Whoever touches the body of the afflicted man shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and be unclean until the evening. If the afflicted man spits on a clean man, the latter shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. Any saddle on which the afflicted man rides is unclean. Whoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until evening. Whoever lifts up any such thing shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. Anyone whom the afflicted man touches with unrinsed hands shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. Earthenware touched by the afflicted man shall be broken, and every wood article shall be rinsed with water. When a man who has been afflicted with a flow becomes free of his affliction, he shall wait 7 days for his purification. Then he shall wash his garments and bathe his body in fresh water, and he will be clean. On the 8th day he shall take 2 turtle doves and 2 pigeons, and go before the Lord to the entrance of the meeting tent. He shall there give them to the priest, who shall offer them up, the one as a sin offering and the other as a holocaust. Thus shall the priest make atonement before the Lord for the man's flow. When a man has an emission of seed, he shall bathe his whole body in water, and be unclean until evening. Any piece of cloth or leather with seed on it shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the evening. If a man lies carnally with a woman, they shall both bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. When a woman has her menstrual flow, she shall be in the state of impurity for 7 days. Anyone who touches her shall be unclean until evening. Anything on which she lies or sits during her impurity shall become unclean. Anyone who touches her bed shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. Whoever touches any article of furniture on which she has been sitting shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and shall be unclean until evening. But if she go on the bed or on a seat when he touches it, he shall be unclean until evening. If a man dares to lie with her, he contracts her impurity, and shall be unclean for 7 days. Every bed on which he then lies also is unclean. When a woman is afflicted with a flow of blood for several days outside of her menstrual period, or when her flow continues beyond the ordinary period, as long as she suffers this unclean flow, she shall be unclean, just as during her menstrual period. Any bed on which she lies during such a flow becomes unclean, as it would during her menstruation. And any article of furniture on which she sits becomes unclean, just as during her menstruation. Anyone who touches them becomes unclean. He shall wash his garments, bathe in water, and be unclean until the evening. If she becomes freed of her affliction, shall wait 7 days, and only then is she to be purified. On the 8th day she shall take 2 turtle doves and 2 pigeons, and bring them to the priest at the entrance of the meeting tent. The priest, now again, stopping reading just for a second, just to think What does God care about her bringing turtle doves? Is this how you teach children when you're a father? If you're a father out there and you're a Christian, you need to think to yourself, why are you worshiping a God that cannot parent better than you? You would never have your child, even if, okay, you're sick, you have the flu. Now, when you're done with the flu, go get me 2 dogs and 2 cats and bring them here so we can kill them and burn them so that we can forgive you for your wrongdoing. It's literal retardation. Just saying. On the 8th day, he shall take 2 turtle doves, 2 pigeons, and bring them into the priest at the meeting tent. The priest shall offer one of them up as a sin offering and the other as a holocaust. Thus shall the priest make atonement before the Lord for her unclean flow. So a girl needs to do this every month. Really, she's spending most of her time capturing turtle doves and pigeons. You shall warn the Israelites of their uncleanliness, lest by defying my dwelling, which is in their midst now, their uncleanliness will be the cause of their death. This is the law for the man who is afflicted with a chronic flow, or who has an emission of seed, and therefore becomes unclean, as well as for women who has her menstrual period, or who is afflicted with a chronic flow, the law of the male and female, and also for the man who lies with an unclean woman. That's basically the end of that. It goes into the Day of Atonement. But I was talking about, and that part was bad, but not as bad as we've seen. Leviticus here, just the parts where it talks about what to do with these animals and this, we can go over this, but I did read this last week, didn't I? About is this God? Irregularities. The Lord said to Moses, speak to Aaron and tell him that none of your descendants, or whatever generation, whoever has any defect, shall come forward to offer up food for his God. Therefore, he who has any of the following defects may not come forward. He who is blind, or lame, or who has any disfigurement or malformation, or has a crippled foot or hand, or who is humpbacked, or weakly, or wall-eyed, or who is afflicted with eczema, ringworm, or hernia. No descendant of Aaron the priest who has any such defect may draw near or offer up the oblations to the Lord. On account of his defect, he may not draw near or offer up the food of his God. He may, however, partake of the food of his God, of what is most sacred as well as of what is sacred. Only he may not approach the veil, nor go up to the altar on account of his defect. He shall not profane these things that are sacred to me, for it is I, the Lord, who make them sacred. Moses therefore told Aaron to tell his sons and tell the Israelites. Again, it's not a cool loser. Didn't you create everybody? So then what? But if they have a crippled hand, you don't accept them at the altar? No, they're going to defile my altar. Well, I don't worship that God. That is such a weird tyrant, just weird. And if you can't see that as weird, if you can't look at it and go, it is weird. Jaren's right. That's weird. Why would he created them? But what if he made somebody blind? So some people are born blind, but those people are not allowed at his altar because it's going to profane the holiness of the altar. It's just dumb. God is God. He decides what's profane. There's no such thing as profane without God. So he's deciding that the people that he created that way are profane to him. So I don't think there's any way that you could justify in any way believing or worshiping that God. Let me just read this last part and then we'll be good. I just want to see which part is the... because there's Leviticus has a bunch of like repeated stories, but the one that's the worst is the one where he talks about this sprinkling blood 7 times. So I just don't remember where that one is. See, shall bring it before the Lord after laying his hand on the meeting tent, but Aaron shall splash his blood on the sides of the altar as an oblation. No, it's just the 7 times is funny to me. It's like, what if we did it 6 times? That doesn't count. Nope. He sprinkled the blood 6 times. He's going to hell. Should have gone 7. It's like, what if you got to 5 and you forgot? Like, oh, am I at 5 or 4? Oh no, it's so bad. 50 membrane of the inner organs. Okay. Nope. That part. Nope. Thereby, people also become guilty. They shall have friends of the Lord with a. Let me see this part. And slaughter. This is it. Okay, let me read this one. This will be the final one. Chapter 4, Leviticus. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites when a person inadvertently commits a sin against some command of the Lord by doing one of the forbidden things, if it is anointed priest who thus sins and thereby makes the people also become guilty, he shall present to the Lord a young, unblemished bull as a sin offering for the sin he committed. Bringing the bullock to the entrance of the meeting tent before the Lord, he shall lay his hand on its head and slaughter it before the Lord. The anointed priest shall then take some of the bullock's blood and bring it into the meeting tent, where, dipping its finger into the blood, he shall sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord, towards the veil of the sanctuary. The priest shall also put some of the blood on the horns of the altar, or fragment of incense, which is before the Lord in the meeting tent. The rest of the bullock's blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of holocausts, which is the entrance of the meeting tent. From the sin offering bullock he shall remove all the fat, the fatty membrane over the inner organs, and all the fat that adheres to them, as well as the 2 kidneys, the fat on them near the loins, and the lobe of the liver, which he must sever above the kidneys. This is the same as is removed from the ox of peace offering, and the priest shall burn it on the altar of holocausts. The hide of the bullock and all its flesh, with its head, legs, inner organs, and offal, in short, the whole bullock, shall be brought outside the camp to a clean place where the ashes are deposited, and there be burned up in the wood fire. At the place of the ash heap, there must it be burned. It is crazy to me. And the one that's even worse is the sin offering, when he tells them, okay, put your hand on this animal and then transfer your sins to the animal, and then we'll kill it. And now you're forgiven of your sins. That you cannot be a better father than the Creator. You cannot be. So the fact that there's several instances where you're like, well, that's not how I would teach children. That's not right. We already know. It's not even a question. If your son or daughter sinned, called you a name, didn't come home on time, and you sent them to go get a calf or a bull or some sort of animal and said, now bring it to me and put your sins on it, kill it, and now you're forgiven. If you think that makes that person a better person, you're lying to yourself. You've made your child worse. This is why nobody does that. There's a reason why not one parent parents that way, except for the parent of the Bible. And we're like, we worship this guy, the God of the Jews. We hate the Jews. They're in charge of everything. The Jews lie. The Jews run everything. But we love the Jew God, the one that chose them as his chosen people. Wake up. Wake up. It's quite easy to see when you really look at it. And that's about it. So tomorrow, I know we will have Glowbusters. It'll probably be on my channel. I haven't talked to Bob, but I don't know if he's coming back yet. So check it out on that channel. And then we will see you next week. Please, if you would be so kind as to join us for the summit. That'd be awesome. And that is at temms.live. It's $50. You get 2 days packed full, and you can watch that forever. And then also you choose when you sign up for who you want to get half that money. So whoever the creator that you're going to see, or the one that you most want to see, just select them on the drop-down menu. It's mandatory, so you have to pick somebody, and they'll get $20 from you. So that's basically it. I don't think there's anything else. So I do think the world's a test. That's what I think.
Why the hell would I take a test?
Oh, well, that's because we should. That's all.
Come on, man.
I think we should. I don't know. I believe that is it. Do I have anything else I wanted to tell you? No. Buy a hat. Buy a hat. Buy a hat. Buy a hat. That is at shop.jeranism.com. Get yourself a NASA Going F Nowhere hat, which are best for like. Did I tell you guys the other night I went to the Apple store with my phone's been on the fritz forever, and I had to get a new phone. And I go in there, and I wasn't even thinking about what I was wearing, but I had my Fake X beanie, and like right away, this guy's talking to me. He's like, "What Fake X? What's that? SpaceX?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I don't believe in SpaceX. I think it's fake." He's like, Jimmy, come here. This guy doesn't believe. Oh, come here. This guy always loves Elon Musk. And then I talked to all these guys about space, and it's just funny because usually if you're wearing the hat, they only see the NASA, and so it does kind of bring up. It's like a conversation starter. But the beanie, the Fake X beanie, you're definitely going to get some people who comment on it because they see SpaceX and they want to blow you, and then they realize that you don't believe in it. So I believe that's it. Yes. And next week we have some fun. Tuesday for the NASA Comedy Hour, we will have 2 guests with me. Derek and Caleb will be joining me for the Power Hour. And then we've got Wednesday, I do have something going on. Monday, I'm on the Crow Show. Thursday, we've got Austin joining me for Speaker's Corner, and we'll be giving away a bunch of money. So if you buy your ticket before Thursday, it has to be by Wednesday, then you are entered into a drawing. We'll do the drawing on Thursday live. We'll pull 4 names or something, and 2 VIP, 2 general, and give your money back plus a little bit. So that's coming up Thursday. I think that's it. What is this one? So we have a sound effect. F-Rock. Fraggle Rock, all right. The thing says F-Rock. I had no idea what that meant. Fraggle Rock. Now I get it. All right. I believe that is it. Yes. So I do remind you, do your own research, guys. When you do, if you do, you'll never believe again what you were taught. And I remind you that there's one simple thing. It's the easiest thing to remember, too. Easy. You can remember this every day. You can be like, oh, yeah, that's true. Just remember that God doesn't write books. People write books. Till next time, Jeranism. Peace.